Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the algebraic series video, and in this video tutorial we'll be going through slightly more difficult questions as opposed to the previous video tutorial, which was more on the beginner section, just to get you guys up and running. Now if you haven't watched that video, I would definitely recommend to go and watch that first before getting into this one, and I'll put the link on the top right hand corner for you guys to check it out. And also in that video there are questions at the end for you guys to practice and then see if you guys get it right or wrong. Now with this one, as you can see, the questions are a bit more different, and it's just a couple of more steps that's required as opposed to the previous one. And also with this tutorial, what I will be doing is at the end of this, I will give you guys some questions so you guys can, get a bit of practice and try it out and then see if you guys get it right or wrong. And I'll put all the answers and the worked out solutions as well. Right, so let's get straight to the question. The question here is asking us solve the following. Now, another thing as well, I forgot to mention, the previous tutorial, the question was simplify. And in this one, the question is solve. You need to be able to know the difference between those two. Solve basically means you need to find a value of x. So x is equal to something. Whereas when it says simplify, which was on the previous video tutorial, simplify basically means you're just simplifying an expression. You're not finding any values. So be careful. Do not get those two keywords mixed up. Yeah. Because a lot of students still get that mixed up. When they see simplify, they just think you have to solve it. You don't do that. Right, so the question here that we have is 1 over x minus 1 is equals to 2 over 5x. Now, when we want to find the value of x, and whenever you see something in this format, there's something that you can do straight away which will make things very easy. And this is something called cross multiplying. What do I mean by this? Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to multiply by x minus 1, diagonally multiplying, cross multiplying. So what we're going to have is we're going to have 2 bracket x minus 1, because we're timesing that 2 by this. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to cross multiply 5x by 1. And now 5x times 1 is just going to be 5x. Now you can write this also this way, so you can also have 5x is equals to 2 bracket x minus 1. It doesn't matter, it's the same thing. Now what you can see is you can see an expression, right? So all we're going to do is expand and then solve for x. So what you can see from this stage to this, all you had to do is just cross multiply diagonally, and then you get an expression that's quite simple to work with. So 5x stays the same, and if we're going to expand this, 2 times x is 2x, and then 2 times minus 1 is minus 2. Now I bring the 2x to the other side, so it becomes minus 2x, and then keep the minus 2 here, so it's just minus 2. 5x minus 2x is 3x, and that is equals to minus 2. And remember, because we want to find the value of x, it says solve, we need to get rid of the 3, so we're just going to divide it by 3. And that is my answer for this one. So this cross multiplying we also did in the part 1, the previous video tutorial, part 1 as well, on how we cross multiply when we simplify the expression. So that's also a good way of seeing it, the similarities. So this is pretty much it. Yeah, whenever you see something in this form, just know, okay, I'm going to cross multiply and cross multiply diagonally. Okay, so 1 times 5x and then the 2 times x minus 1, and then you just expand and solve. Now for this one, it's something similar to the first one as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to first cross multiply. So there's 5x minus 1 times x. So we can also write this as x times 5x minus 1 equals to, we're going to cross multiply 3 by 6, which is 18. Right, now we're going to expand. So x times 5x is just going to be 5x squared. And then x times minus 1 is going to be minus x equals to 18. Now, what can you see that is different in this expression as opposed to the previous one? Can you see have you spotted something that's different in this one? If you have, put it down in the comments. Yeah, if you know what what the difference is. Now, if you can see the difference, what it is this is a quadratic, isn't it? You have x squared as opposed to there where it's linear. So if this is a quadratic, we want to get a quadratic equation. So what we want to do is this 18 now has to come to the other side. So if you keep minus x, this 18 was positive, so moving it to the left hand side now becomes negative. So as you can see now, we have a quadratic equation, 5x squared minus x minus 18 equals 0. Now there's 3 ways you can go about solving for x. You can either factorize if it's factorizable, or use a quadratic formula, or you can complete the square. But the first thing is always see if it's factorizable. How? First find two numbers when you multiply gives you this 5 times minus 18, so that's going to be minus 90. And then you want two numbers when you add gives you basically this number inside here, which is just minus 1. Now, if you're not quite sure on how to factorize, I'll put the link on the top right hand corner of the actual video for factorizing. You go and check that out. You know, that will go a lot more slower as well, more to, I guess it would be more to your pace, but this is me, I'm doing this based on people knowing how to factorize using quadratic formula and completing the square. So if you don't know those topics, I would definitely recommend to go and watch those video tutorials first before getting into this one. It's incorporating all those to try and solve this. Right, so for me to get my two numbers that I want to multiply, that gives me minus 90 and add gives me minus 1, what would those two numbers be? So this would be minus 10 and 9, because minus 10 times 9 gives me minus 90 and minus 10 plus 9 gives me minus 1. So all I'm going to do now, if I'm going to factorize this, bring the minus 10 here but add an x, so minus 10x, and then 9 and add an x as well. And then bring this minus 18 down, which is equals to 0. Now I'm going to factorize this, so I can take out 5x is in common. So I'm left with x minus 2. And then in this one, I can take out 9, because 9 is in common. So then I'm left with x minus 2 equals 0. All I'm going to do now is bring 5x and plus 9 in one bracket. So that's 5x plus 9 in one bracket. And then x minus 2 in the other bracket equals 0. Now 5x plus 9 is one solution, so 5x plus 9 equals 0 is one solution. So x is equals to, if you bring 9 to the other side, it becomes minus 9, but then you need to divide it by 5, so minus 9 over 5. Now if I want to bring x minus 2, so x minus 2 is my other solution, so x is equals to 2, because I'm bringing minus 2 to the other side. So this is pretty much it on how to solve this. So you can see already, right? It's not hard if you know how to, you know, do your factorizing, completing the square quadratic formula, right? The only thing that you need to learn here is the cross multiplying. That's it. Okay, so if there's any questions that you guys have or still don't understand in any of the steps that I've done, put it down in the comments and I'll get back to you. And now what I would do is give you guys some questions for you guys to have a go and see for yourself if you can do it. Right, so here are some questions for you guys to have a go. Try it out and then see if you guys get it right or wrong. Right, so what we're going to do straight away now is just cross multiply. So we're going to cross multiply this 3 by the 2x minus 5. So we're going to have 3 bracket 2x minus 5, close the bracket, equals 2. And now we're going to cross multiply this 2 by x minus 3. So we're going to have 2 bracket x minus 3. And now what we're going to do is we're going to expand. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times minus 5 is minus 15. That is equals to, if we expand this one now, 2 times x is 2x. And then 2 times minus 3 is minus 6. Bring all the x's to one side. So 6x, bring this 2x to that side. So that now becomes minus 2x. Minus 6 stays here. And then bring this minus 15 to this side, because you want the letters on one side and numbers on the other. That becomes plus 15. 6x minus 2x is 4x, and then minus 6 plus 15 is 9. So x is equals to 9 over 4. Okay, so if you've got that answer, well done. That's what you should get. And if you haven't, then definitely just check where you went wrong. Maybe you made a silly mistake in your minuses and plus. So that's the answer for this one. Now for the second one, what we're going to do again, the same thing, we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to do x times x minus 1. So x times x minus 1 equals to, we're going to do now 3 times 2x plus 3. So 3 times 2x plus 3. Now we're going to expand. So x times x is x squared. X times minus 1 is minus x. If we expand this, 3 times 2x is 6x. And then 3 times 3 is 9. You can see we have a quadratic here because we have an x squared term. So we're going to have a quadratic equation. So bring everything to the left-hand side. So x squared minus x, 6x now becomes negative 6x. And then plus 9 now becomes minus 9 when we move it to the other side. And that is equals to 0. So x squared minus x minus 6x is minus 7x. and then minus 9 is just minus 9 equals 0. Now you want to check if this is factorizable. So you want to get two numbers when you multiply gives you minus 9, and two numbers when you add gives you minus 7. There aren't any two numbers that give you that. So in this case, what you're going to have to use is either quadratic formula or completing the square. If you use quadratic formula, it's fine. I'm going to use completing the square because it's more simple and it's quicker. But if you use quadratic formula, it's absolutely fine as long as you get the answer. So to complete the square, x squared first becomes x. We're going to halve 7. Now again, if you're not sure how to do completing the square, you should go and watch the completing the square video that I've uploaded as well, and that will help you guys out to understand what's actually happening. So when we complete the square, x squared becomes x. Now we're going to halve the 7. So half the 7 is basically 7 over 2. Okay, and we keep as a fraction. It just looks neater. So when we halve 7, which means I divided by 2, it will be 7 over 2. All of this is going to be squared. Minus 9 comes down, minus 9. Now we're going to have minus, it's always going to be minus, the square of this number. Then the square of this number is just basically 7 squared, which is 49, over the square of 2 squared, which is 4. And that is equals to 0. So the reason why we keep it as a fraction is just makes things a bit more simple. Yes, you can use calculators for this. It's not something that you have to do without a calculator, but it just looks neater. Or if you're more comfortable with decimal, stick with decimal. It's fine. So now what we need to do is, because we want to find our x value, we need to simplify minus 9 minus 49 over 4. So that should give you minus 9. So that should give you minus 85 over 4. So 85 over 4, is it 4, 130? Yeah, that is 85 over 4. So equals to 0. So again, you can use a calculator to solve this. Now, bring the 85 over 4 to the other side. So you're left with now x, 7 over 2, whole thing squared, equals to 85 over 4. Now, because you want to find x by itself, right? So you need to get rid of the square. So I'm going to run out of space here. So to get rid of the square, what you need to do is square root, but you have plus and minus, because whenever you square root, you're going to have two number values. So you're going to have 85 over 4. Now the final step here, so let me write this here, is you're going to have now x equals, because you want to bring this minus 7 over 2 to the other side. So you're going to have 7 over 2 plus minus square root 85 over 4. Okay, so now obviously, and then what you need to do from here is you need to put in your calculator 7 over 2 plus square root 85 over 4. You get an answer for that. And then the other one is you do 7 over 2 minus square root 85 over 4. You put that in your calculator and you get an answer for that. Okay, so just for the purpose of this tutorial, I haven't done that bit because we can just leave it like this for now. Unless if I said, okay, solve the following, give me your answer to 3SF, then you need to obviously put this in the calculator and then solve it. Just for just because of the purpose here is just to understand how this works as opposed to this. I'm leaving it like this, but obviously you guys in the exam, you got to make sure you write your two answers. So 7 over 2 plus square root 85 over 4, you put that in your calculator, and then the other one is with the minus. Okay, so again, you don't have to use completing the square. If you use quadratic formula, that is fine. It's the same thing. As long as you get the same answer, it's fine. Okay, you don't have to use completing the square. It's your choice. Okay, so this is pretty much it. Like, really, it's the thing that you're really learning here is the cross multiplying. That is it. Now, this completing the square, quadratic formula, factorizing, you guys should know this. If you do not know how to do those, you can't come to these video tutorials and try and understand it, because you will only be able to understand the first bit. You need to be able to understand, to do the everything, you need to have the other aspects under your belt, the other topics. So I will highly recommend to go and watch the other tutorials as well with completing the square, quadratic formula, if you're still a bit confused on how to solve those questions. Okay, if there's anything that you don't understand here, any questions that you have, put it down in the comments and I'll get back to you guys. And yeah, that's a wrap for this video.